To have something in front of you, does it warrant interrogation? Does it warrant your time? Does it make you feel outside of your body? Or does it just burn the hours of the day? Rituals define a space between pathological behaviours and social traditions, which I engage with throughout this research and film to question the psychological elements. Our psyche is a collected membrane of memory, experiences, loss, tragedy, belief, and the bittersweet. We seek purpose in the void, whether that be through a god or through repetitive behaviours of comfort. This project has focused on the ritualistic natures in which I have interacted with suffering and death, things I hold on to, and the experiences which shadow and comfort me. The film, in a passive manner, questions and interrogates the death of conceptual art. Conceptual art existed to promote interrogation into something to find further meaning within it. However, social media is now post-conceptual and all about the immediate gratification attained from it. Social media is not conceptual in the sense of having a story with depth behind it. Instead, a lot of people are drawn to nature and folk traditions for this. My work and film tap into folk traditions in making a statement as opposed to the previous. I seek and desire to find connection, reference, and things which bind us to people, places, and things. The male wren will construct multiple nests repetitively to extend its line and memory. It builds. It creates from the leaves and twigs which have fallen from trees and broken from branches. This serves its purpose to home its descendants, and then the line is continued when those baby wrens build their own nests, with new twigs from old trees and a sense of the collective self. For the wren is not self-indulged to believe it has invented the method and style of nest building. This is an inherited identity. My main interest lies in memory, which is always contextual. Memory hangs off moments and objects like the rags hang off the trees. It references moments, people, and places. Nodes connect within our brains into a network of contextual reference, forming a tapestry of associated memory. There is a tradition of burying the wren, to be rid of the old year. Therein lies stories behind the story I am making. Numerous accounts, memories, and traditions behind my single film narrative. These numerous recounts of memory are recycled into something new and thoughtful, channeling trauma and loss into something creative and something beautiful. The new year disregards the old and prioritises a tidy digital database, rather than accepting the old year as an integral part of our experienced present. A rolling, multi-layered forest shrouded in the mystery of personal geography. We are in the age of the icon, a face and a personality which is dictated online and seen as the real. We are products of overstimulated minds and live in a world currently where the everyday is a performative notion that feeds only into the online, rather than pure existence within the real. This video is a mourning of the world. The nature we desire for an image, rather than to be with it. People would rather a photograph of a foxglove for the iconography, rather than to explore and watch the leaves as raindrops collect within them and trickle off. We are attempting to make icons of certain stature and beliefs of ourselves, while not feeding into any action which determines this, besides online documentation. It is the difference of the signifier and the signified. To believe in nature and actively support it, or to document it for a particular self-image. It is a ritual of capturing and fabricating a moment, an offering for the altar of Instagram. Wearing a shroud and a mask allows for anonymity. This goes against the idol an involvement of the world of art and modern culture, which is of having a face, an image of a person to witness and behold and fetishize as a dictation of a belief system. A mask and dress also allow one to adopt an archetype, a ritualistic character, the permission to adopt certain behaviours. Shrouding the face creates a distinct disconnection from the human and makes you uncomfortable and unsettled. This allows for the film to follow a figure rather than a person. This figure carries not a bag, but a box. This ritualistic film is a response to the era of being stuck online as an artist, and the disconnection from the performative exhibition and the aura surrounding installation. This is a response to the digital screen turning my art into nothing more than a few pixels to die in the abyss below that of sponsored posts. I long to be outdoors, interact with space, aura, materiality and the physical, and so I did. Surrounding the Irish tradition of chasing the wren on St. Stephen's Day, young boys would set off early morning to chase and sometimes kill the wren, later developing into just dressing up in costume and singing a song door to door. The wren, the king of all birds, St. Stephen's Day was caught in the furs. Although he was little, his honour was great. Jump up, me lads, and give him a tray. As I was going to kill and all, I met a wren upon the wall. I took me stick and knocked him down and brought him into Carrick town. Drawling, where's your nest? It's in the bush that I love best. In the tree, the holly tree, where all the boys do follow me. Up with the kettle and down with the pan, and give us a penny to bury the wren. We follow the wren 3 miles or more, 3 miles or more, 3 miles or more. We follow the wren 3 miles or more at 6 o'clock in the morning. I have a little box under my arm, under my arm, under my arm. I have a little box under my arm, a penny or twopence would do it no harm. The costume and imagery I became infatuated by goes by different colloquial names depending on place. From Mayo, I know it is that of the straw boy, but it's also recognised as a mummer or a wren or ran boy. Typically built from straw, these hats and costumes shroud the face into quite pagan iconography. A costume built from the earth, which erodes and does not last. Weavings become loose, and it erodes down eventually. There is a finite nature to things natural, which only adds to the aura. I did not have straw and was not going to import any, as this would be inauthentic, and instead I opted for a more genuine approach to the landscape which I am a part of. I sourced marsh reeds and willow from the forest the short film takes place in, starting the collection process in December 2020. Since then I have watched the wood and reeds dry and change colour, adapting with the seasons. This is in keeping with wanting to make the film and ritual as genuine as possible. 2 key parts of the film are the jewellery and pocket watch at the beginning. This watch was my father's, which he got as a bus driver long before I was born. It is an item I cherish, which I carry with me as part of him, since he passed away when I was a teenager. The clock mechanism doesn't work, and mentally I think I've convinced myself it stopped working with him. The jewellery worn in the film features Celtic imagery. A triquetra, a Celtic nut, and my mother's cladder wedding ring on one hand, and a cladder ring with my father's signet ring on the other. Key, however, is the brooch which holds the shawl, a traditional Irish brooch in the style of that of the Hunterston or Tara brooch. My mother gave this to me after I became infatuated while doing a research project into the Hunterston brooch. In keeping with imagery, there is an extended shot of the sexton walking close up on the feet in the grass, where 2 tattoos are visible on their legs. These tattoos are symbols of my identity. On the left is a Manchester bee, where my parents immigrated to and raised me. On my right foot forward is the Irish harp. These are my identity, symbolic of where I am made of. The concept of an obituary is from my own memory of sitting on a Sunday and listening to church bells chime on the radio, which was followed by a listing of the names of the dead for that week. It is also influenced by being surrounded by death and suffering from a young age, and with loss so close to home, it's inescapable. You begin to envy those who can turn a blind eye to the shadows which you live alongside. I grew up with loss surrounding me since I was a child. I lost a parent and the other suffering from severe psychosis. There are rituals used in both circumstances as coping mechanisms, whether it be repetitive imagery of mice, shouting the same word repeatedly, or refusing to wear a certain item of clothing ever again for fear of it triggering a death. This falls in line with the ideas of the banshee. To hear her scream or her cry would mean a nearby death. As a child, I was terrified of hearing the banshee call, and would ritualistically cover my ears of a night and ensure my head was tucked under my duvet, just in case I might see her too. This fascination and fear of death sticks with us all. So terrified, yet so fixated, and constantly reminded, it's part of the triquetra, the holy trinity of the earth: birth, life, and death. The concluding scenes surround a rag tree or occluded tree. These are mystical, powerful creatures, which are polysemic in meaning depending on intention. You tie a rag for a purpose, whether to leave a memory behind or to remember something. It's a recalling of mind, an acknowledgement and a space to turn suffering into something unique and beautiful, with catharsis emerging from the physical tying of a memory and walking away from it, and the empowerment of returning to this moment as it exists within the rag and the tree holds it safely. Speaking of the mystery time builds around historical objects, while referencing Sutton Hoo, Seamus Heaney describes how
the way to imagine it best is when it goes into the ground with a historical king or whoever it was buried with, and then its gleam under the earth gradually disappearing. There's a marvellous section in the Beowulf poem itself, The Last Veteran is called, the last person of his tribe burying treasure in the hoard and saying, "Lie there, treasure, you belong to earls, the world has changed," and he takes farewell of the treasure and buries it in the ground. That sense of elegy, a farewell to beauty and farewell to the treasured objects, that hangs round the helmet, I think. So it belongs in the poem, but obviously it belonged within the burial chamber in Sutton Hoo. But it has entered imagination. It has left the tomb and entered the entrancement of the readers, I think, of the poem.
Danesdyke holds the same feeling for me. It's a large 2-mile-long earthwork which has a lot of mystery. It has a feeling of the sacred and safety in nature. Further imagery in the film includes that of Rudster Monolith, the tallest standing stone in the UK. It stands above ground at 25 foot, and it's assumed to be the same below surface level. Mystery surrounds the stone and fable, a pagan symbol of ritual. It's thought the stone was dragged to the site as a place of worship, and I made this 12-mile journey by foot on Midsummer's Day with my partner. The film and song focus on the idea of doing dirty work of the masses, the disconnect from the natural world, embodied by the disconnection between humans and death and misery that humans feel and wish to wash their hands of. The Wren in folklore is a symbol of the old year, and that's why it will be killed, to rid yourself of the past and move on. This is in great conflict with my belief of inherited identity. We are a personal geography and live upon our own tapestry. The sexton in the film is doing the work left to the waste by people, the taboo acts surrounding and, to a certain extent, of acknowledging death, which we are, ironically, too human to connect with on a human level. People would pay keeners to attend funerals as a performative act of mourning, to remove the burden from those who surround the dead. This is known as queener or keening. Drawling has the bravery to exist in unison with the past, to nurture, acknowledge, and respect her. The loss is in the misery which we do not wish to be with. It is the burden of the Wren. The past is a present fixture to contextualize us as people, our personal geographies. The veins of our suffering are the same which lead rivers to the sea. Often these we ignore or wish to unburden ourselves with. However, they're a part of us. The sea is still there, whether it is still on a July evening or wildly beating against the sea wall in a January storm. The earth is within us. We are built of the earth, and Gach on Roimh. Self-determination was, and is, part of human history. This I wish to reflect in the production of the short film, in which everything is handmade and self-made. The shroud is a CAD-embroidered shroud, with pictorial imagery of home care for a disabled parent. While this has been used as imagery for a zine, it's recontextualized into a shrouding memory that is worn with acceptance. The song has been written and produced from home during the COVID-19 pandemic, and the Wren boy hats, the skulls and objects within the box, are sourced from the beach over the last year and 3D printed and painted at home by myself and my partner. The box these reside in is handmade from recycled wood. Each element of this project is self-determined, for the love of making and the belief in a line of theory and inquiry. The context which surrounds this film is a part of what I live and breathe and surround myself with. It is my identity and a colloquial history.